Welcome to the Hunt, Fish, Travel podcast, the first and longest running female hosted hunting podcast. It's all deer all the time. Whether it's public or private, she's helping you navigate your trip of a lifetime. And now here's your hostess, Carrie Zilka.
Okay, people, before we get into the episode, I did just want to take care of some quick business. As you know, SpyPoint is my biggest sponsor here on the podcast, and I did want to point out, in case you missed it, that they are doing some amazing Tuesday Q&As, live Q&As with a few of their influencers, brand ambassadors, whatever you want to call these folks. So Tuesday, September 24th, upcoming Kevin Knighton from The Backwoods Life. You can go back and watch the old Q&As. They've had, Justin Martin, Roger Ragland, Stephen Fuller, Michael Lee, Ralph and Vicky, Joe Appel, Melissa Bachman, Kenyon Bankston. I mean, some really solid people, a lot of Q&A questions, a lot of really good engagement. These folks are taking time out of their busy evening and they are answering your questions. So if you haven't yet, head over to the SpyPoint Facebook page, give it a like, give it a follow. Make sure you click going on the events when they create them, because these are really cool Q&As that you're not going to want to miss. Like I said, the upcoming one is September 24th with Kevin Knighton. I don't know who they have coming up next. It's in my contract that I'm supposed to do one of these. God, I kind of hope they don't ask me to, because I'm a podcaster. I'm not a vidcaster. I suck in front of the camera. But so we'll see if I can weasel my way out of it. But anyway, so go watch everybody else. And if they make me do it, I will let you guys know the date and time coming up. So anywho, check it out. Don't forget, Tuesdays are always going to be Trail Cam Tuesdays on the Hunt, Fish, Travel Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, of course. Man, I've got some really cool stuff going on with these SpyPoint cameras. You are not going to want to miss it. This episode is also brought to you by Costa Sunglasses. I cannot live without them, and we've been working together. I didn't know that you can. So I wear glasses, right? I mean, obviously, you see lots of photos with me wearing glasses. And so when I got my new glasses this year, I was like, hey, can I get my prescription put in? I have all these Costa sunglasses. And they're like, no, we can't, because Costa has some weird rule that they're the only ones who can put the prescriptions into the actual sunglass frames. And I was like, well, that kind of sucks. So I reached out to Costa and we worked out a deal. And I'm going to walk through the actual process of getting the prescription embedded into their actual sunglass frames. So I'll just do a quick little tutorial. So that's something interesting if you do wear prescription glasses and you're interested in their sunglasses. Might be just a cool little how-to. I didn't even know that they did that, so I'm kind of excited to be able to wear sunglasses and be able to see. I think that's wonderful. Anyhow, and of course a big shout out to Radiance Inc. They provide me with all my DeWalt stuff, which I am remodeling my office, and it's coming along quite nicely so that I can do more vidcasts. We'll see. I really don't want to do video, but I think I'm going to have to. But my office is going to be awesome, so maybe that'll inspire me to. And of course, Montana Decoy, because I don't know that I'll actually need a decoy this year, because I have a really cool buck on these SpyPoint trail cameras that, holy cow. But turkey season is just right around the corner too, so we'll see. All right, on to the episode. Welcome to the Hunt, Fish, Travel podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Z. I am here on the line with good friend and media guru, Bret Amundson. If you have not been on their website, fishhuntforever.com or bretamundson.com, you are missing out, because this guy is everywhere. Canada, USA, I mean, their YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is amazing. Some of the videos you create, Bret, are so beautifully shot. Just beautiful. They really are. Friend of the show, and of course, with the work that you do with AGLOW, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show again. And the reason for this episode is, we're of course going to talk about AGLOW, but I was reading the Hunting Wire, and as a deer hunter and not a goose hunter, but as one who is always interested in other hunting opportunities. Well, I should say hunting opportunities as in, like, I'm always like, oh yeah, that'd be cool to hunt, but then I never actually do. But, like, you know, we did that episode about goose hunting and it was so cool. And I was totally like, yeah, I'm totally going to go goose hunting. And then I never did. But then I read this article about how it's been so rainy this year. And this year's rainfall has been just bananas. And it had mentioned how hunters might have to change tactics now. And I was curious, do you find that to be a true statement? Like, do you think you're going to have to change your tactics for goose hunting this year?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that happen when you have a real wet year like we've had. And I'm in western Minnesota, and it was really dry last year. I should say, I think last year in the spring, it was really wet in the spring. We had a lot of water, and then it just dried up. Like somebody shut the spigot off, and we didn't see rain again until the fall, I think. So everything was really dry last year. This year, kind of the opposite, real wet spring again, and then it rained all summer. So a couple of things will happen because of that. One, just in general, you know, you're going to have water everywhere. You're going to have water in fields. You're going to have maybe some seasonal wetlands or some small ponds that were shallow enough to walk across. In prior years, this year you might need a boat in some of those ponds because they're going to be deeper. And then you have late planting, and that's really where it can affect how your fall might go. Every time we have a real late spring or a real wet spring, all of us goose hunters right away are thinking about when that fall harvest is going to take place and when the corn's going to come off. I mean, beans will come off generally earlier, and you can hunt some geese in beans, but it's real tough because it's like hunting them in a parking lot. The ground is real flat, not a lot of stuff to hide in. So a lot of times you want to get into those cornfields, and if it's a real late harvest, that can affect goose hunters, that can affect pheasant hunters, can affect duck hunters for those who are fortunate enough to hunt cornfields for duck hunting. But that's one thing you have to watch out for is when they end up harvesting that corn, because that will dictate a lot of times where you get to hunt them. Now, if you're fortunate enough, once again, to be able to hunt wheat fields, if you're in an area with a lot of wheat fields, which we don't have as many where I'm at here, northern Minnesota, North Dakota, the further north you go, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, you'll get into more wheat and oats and some of those smaller grains where you can they come out early and the geese love it. So a lot of times the early season, that might be what the geese are using. And if you can get into those fields, great. You might have to use them later in the year if the corn's still standing. So and then one other thing to think about is driving out into those fields. If it's real wet, farmer's not going to want you to drive a truck and trailer out in the middle of that field. So if you're going to hunt a field, you might be dragging bags of decoys, you know, or carrying bags of decoys way into the field, which nobody wants to do because you're probably walking through mud. It's almost like spring snow goose hunting when everything's real muddy. So it can definitely change your approach in the fall.
That's interesting. I don't know. I guess it's primarily, I guess it's primarily a deer hunter, you know. You go bow hunting and, like, when it rains that much, the worst thing that you're really worried about is, like, oh, well, which boots do I have to wear? Do I have to wear the sloppy boots or the ones that I don't care if they get muddy or not? And I don't know, it's just interesting. When it comes to waterfowl hunting, goose hunting, duck hunting and stuff, the tactics are really, they're just so different. It's just their tactics are just so different. Sometimes, I don't know.
Yeah, you have a lot of options. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to hunt geese. And, you know, just real quick on deer hunting, that standing corn staying up longer is going to affect your deer hunting too, particularly if you're a bow hunter. Usually by the time the rifle season comes around or the gun season comes around, a lot of that corn is coming down or has come down already. But if that corn's coming down later, that's going to hold a lot of deer. You know, it's like a big giant forest for for a lot of deer. So that late harvest will affect your ability to see a lot of animals as well too. But it's funny that we're doing this today. Literally this morning, and I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but when we recorded it this morning, I put out a new video on our YouTube channel, Fish Hunt Forever. And it's a raising tiny video. So it's about one of my labs and when I picked her out from the litter and when I picked her up. And so it's a bunch of little puppies running around biting each other. And then we went on a goose hunt. And the tactic or the approach that we took that day was a loafing pond. So one of the guys had scouted out some geese that were using this cattle pond. And a lot of times the geese will go from their roost, which could be the cattle pond, could have been a bigger body of water somewhere else where they stage up at night. And then when the morning comes around, they'll fly out to feed somewhere, whether it's corn, whether it's wheat, or maybe an alfalfa field. And then a lot of times, particularly in the early season when it's warmer out, they'll fly to a loafing pond and spend the day kind of cooling off, getting a drink, relaxing, and then they'll go back out to feed in the evening and then go back to their roosting place, which may or may not be the same pond. And these particular geese were using this cattle pond around midday. So we got up and we didn't want to, I can't remember if the field was too muddy or what the deal was, but may just been the fact that we stayed up too late the night before. I'm not quite sure, but we got to sleep in a little bit. And then we got to set up while it was daylight. So we got to the cattle pond after the sun had come up. The geese were out feeding in a field somewhere. And we put some floating goose decoys out, set up an A-frame on the side of the pond, and then kicked back and relax and waited for them to come to this loafing spot. So it's kind of a late morning hunt. And that's one approach you can take. If you can't get into the field that they're feeding in, you can watch them. And a lot of it comes down to scouting and learning what the geese are doing to determine how you're going to hunt them, figure out where they're roosting, figure out where they're feeding, and figure out if they're going somewhere to loaf. And if they have a loafing spot a lot of times these cattle ponds, you can drive right up to the edge. It's real solid ground. It's a easy dry hide. And then you have a guy with waders to set the decoys out, or a boat, and then a dog for retrieves. And it can be a real simple hunt. And that's something you can do in one of these years where the fields might be too wet to go set up in, or the corn's not down yet. So that's an option. And you can watch that video right now on our Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel.
That's interesting. So I'm actually going to post this on Wednesday, so very timely. It'll be brand spanking new. So I'll link that to the in the show notes of this episode so folks can go check it out. So that's super cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's cool. It is so interesting watching Tiny grow up because, I mean, we've known each other for...
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I know. I'm trying to think when the first Fond du Lac.
Yeah. Maybe 10 years ago or so.
Yeah. Way before Tiny.
Yeah. And that was when Mika was pretty young.
Yeah. That was so fun. Oh my gosh, watching your dogs grow up, and even on the videos and the photos and stuff that you share, they're so cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And, we've kind of got this series about Tiny now called Raising Tiny. So there's 2 episodes now on the YouTube channel. Then there's a third one that's already done, and we'll be going up here probably in the next couple of weeks or so. So the idea was to show the transition between an old hunting dog and a new one, and the struggle you go through as this, hunting partner gets old. They never live as long as you want them to. And then the transition to getting a new one and going through the training process, picking one out, deciding who you're going to get a dog from, picking one out, and then the training, and then the transition of, spending all this time with one dog to, transitioning over to spending all this time with a new one. And that's kind of what we're trying to show.
And you're doing a good job. And it's funny because the different personalities between the 2 dogs really come through in the videos. I mean, they really come through. And differences in age, of course. But even when you watch the videos, even their facial expressions when they're retrieving or just even, when they're alert or whatever, it's really interesting, the differences between the two dogs. It's really interesting if you're paying attention. Just like I said, I don't know. I mean, I know dogs have facial expressions, whatever, blah, 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 but it's really interesting, and you guys capture it really well on camera. So good job.
Yeah.
From a non-dog owner, from a cat lady.
Well, it's funny, and Mika was great, and she was my first hunting dog, so they're always a special place. And I made mistakes in the training, with her, and when I got her, I was working in radio, and I was doing 6 days a week, 10 hours a day at the radio station. So she was home alone a lot, and that's not great for a dog. And so Tiny, I can already tell. And a lot of it's just because I've got more experience working with dogs, and I'm home now all the time, and she travels with me everywhere. So just by the ability of spending as much time with her, I'm spending way more time with her than I was able to with Mika. She's just going to be a better overall performing dog. And then it's just funny, she's more affectionate. When they're working, both of them. They're like, don't pet me right now. Just let me go retrieve something. But at home, Mika will be like, yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you're here too, but I'm just going to lay over here. I'll come by for pets once in a while. Whereas Tiny will come up and, sit and lean against your leg a lot of times. And, dogs have different personalities, and Mika's more like a cat in that sense sometimes. Like,
right.
I'd be fine without you.
Right.
I'd be okay.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Well, and both of our websites, whether it's fishhuntforever.com or huntfishtravel.com, if you search Goose on either of the websites, you come up with some really great results. When I did it on yours, there was your 600th show in March. That's nuts, dude. 600
for the podcast.
600 shows. That's crazy. I don't know how many shows I've done because I've unpublished many of them over the years because they sucked. I have renumbered many of them because I'm like, yep, that's not evergreen. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that one. So,
yeah, I mean, it's funny when since it's a radio show and it started as a radio show first, and it's a weekly show, it forces us to do a new one each week. And, there's a few early on that I probably should take off the internet because of, it's tough weekly, trying to make sure that each week is a good show. And, I've got Dan working with me now, and then we got another buddy that's a part of the show. And thankfully we've been doing it long enough. It's gotten better over the years. And then when we added video to it, it's kind of helped too. But, it's a lot doing it each week for sure.
It is. I went through, what was that? Like 3 years ago, I think I went through just the old, even when I rebranded I think it was 2014 or 15 when I rebranded, and a lot of those just went by the wayside because I wasn't going to go through and, re-edit the intro and the outro and everything and all the different sponsors and everything like that for what essentially were episodes that just never see the light of day anymore because they were awful, I'm like, oh God, these are terrible. So it's so funny when you go back in history though, but it's funny to watch our friends and a lot of these podcasters and their progression. And like you said, a lot of the radio folks that have made the transition over to podcasts, or I just did that episode with Jana Waller, who literally went from TV to purely digital on Carbon TV. And it's really interesting how so many folks have just gone from everything to digital and
well, it's just so much easier.
I know, right?
I mean, it's easier. You have the ability to reach everybody in the world if you pay for it, but you're not bound by certain regulations or rules, and then you're not beholden to a TV station or a radio station. You're free to do what you want. It's interesting. I put off, because I did TV and I did radio for a long time, of course, and I went to TV, and I resisted the digital side of things. Like, I'm a true broadcast professional. I'm not an amateur podcaster. That was my first reaction to podcasting, when it first started, whatever it was, 20 years ago or 15 years ago. And now it's like, now it's so funny. Now when I talk to people and they ask me about my show, and maybe I said this last time on your show, but depending on how old that person is, I'll tell them it's a radio show if they're older, and if they're younger, I'll tell them it's a podcast.
Totally.
Like the transition, and now we focus way more on the digital than the broadcast, because the digital has just exploded, and obviously, everybody that's a professional broadcaster is doing digital, and just the possibilities with it are endless. So
I know. Good. I've even like stopped correcting people when they're like, yeah, I have a podcast on YouTube and it's video, and I'm like, oh my God, that's not a podcast, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I've stopped correcting people. I'm like, that's great. I'll check out your podcast on YouTube. That's a video.
Yeah. Well, and what do you call it? Like,
it's a vidcast. It's a vidcast.
Vidcast, yeah.
It is.
But even YouTube has a podcast section.
I know.
When you upload it stuff. So it's we're a radio show, but it's a podcast, but it's also on YouTube. So, we've strongly considered changing our name from Sporting Journal Radio, just because it's got the word radio in it. So do we change it? For the most part, it's been that way for 11 years. So are we going to lose some of that, equity in the name that we built up? Or, I don't
think you will, though, because, right. Because at this point, and I totally get it, because 2 years ago, I kind of changed everything from Hunt Fish Travel Podcast to Hunt Fish Travel Show. Because I was like, all right, let's do the push to YouTube, like you said. And then I'm like, let's tell them I'm a podcast. I'm a podcast. It is what it is. I don't care. I'm a podcast. And if you don't know what a podcast is, then for the love of God, I'm probably just not the right show for you, and that's fine. It's just, I really truly feel like almost everybody has heard the term podcast at this point. If you don't listen to the Joe Rogan podcast or whatever, or Steve Rinella's podcast or whatever it is, then
it's fun. What's funny about that, though, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
yeah,
it's interesting. And what our approach has been is just to hit them everywhere, and put everything in every possible place possible. Because when you talk about the Joe Rogan podcast, I don't listen to it.
Oh, I don't either.
I watch it on YouTube.
Yep.
And it's usually when I'm trying to be productive doing something else, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm an hour into a Joe Rogan show, and I'm like, I forgot I was working.
That's my too. He's like, you gotta see this part, and I'm like, oh God, here we go down the rabbit hole. What guest does he have on now that's talking about aliens or conspiracies or weight loss fads or whatever? But yeah, I think a lot of people watch it on YouTube, or just listen to it on YouTube. I listen to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I pay for the premium subscription on YouTube. I listen to a lot of music on Spotify, and weirdly enough, I try to listen to the podcast on Spotify, and for whatever reason, the format it just doesn't work for me. I do listen to a lot of podcasts on YouTube. It's so weird.
Yeah,
it's
and I need
so
to
weird.
do that, because I always have to keep my app open to keep listening or watching, or I've got it on, I've got a couple screens here at my desk, so I'll put it on one screen while I'm working on the other one. But I don't know, and it's tough as a podcast. We struggled for a while on YouTube, and it's coming around, but a lot of people don't listen to our show on YouTube necessarily. I mean, it's not we're trying to build it more for YouTube, but it's still at its core a radio show.
Right.
So sometimes it's tough to get people used to the YouTube, but since it is video, and we do try to throw B-roll in there and something visual, and you can track stats, you can monetize it, and everybody's on YouTube these days. We've really tried to make the push for it to be YouTube, but it's for podcasts. It's tough unless you're Joe Rogan.
It really is. I have different like image headers for whether you're on my website, then it's a static image, of course. But if you're watching it on YouTube, then it's a different one, and it's got like an animated, I don't know, like the audio. Oh,
like a waveform type deal.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
Because at least it's something that's movement and keeps your eye there, moving from left to right, the whole blah, blah, blah. But at least it's something. But oh God, it takes so much time to do all these different things everywhere.
It's hard, especially if you're doing it by yourself. It's tough.
Yeah. But I feel like it pays off even just for the different platforms that people are listening. But I find that the ones that are animated are listened to more than, and despite subject matter, are listened to more than the ones that have just the static image, the boring images. So,
well, a lot of that might be YouTube putting it into an algorithm too.
Right,
so much.
They're thinking it's an actual video.
So much of your reach depends on getting into those algorithms. It sucks.
Yeah. Oh God, I know. That's funny that you mentioned that too, because you mentioned earlier, you made the comment, where the being digital, you can be everywhere if you want to pay for it.
If you pay for it.
But you know what, though? Compared to broadcast, where, say, I don't know, we're just going to pick on the Outdoor Channel or something like that, where you have to pay $100,000. Say you get a sponsor, it costs you $100,000 for some airtime. Do you know how much...
oh, gosh, I'd love to put $100,000 into YouTube.
Oh, my God.
That'd be number one.
We would rule the world. We would rule the outdoor world. If we had $100,000 to dump into promoting our videos on YouTube.
Yeah. Your money does go for sure. But you're still, like, I don't know. I go back and forth because we did a show on Fox Sports North that first year, and it cost us $100,000 to do 26 weeks. And it was, those shows, if you have valleys, those shows still have a pretty good reach. But, my gosh, I mean, just... what you can just reach. You can reach maybe a more targeted audience going digital, the right audience, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the future for sure.
I know. Yeah, totally. Well, let's talk a little bit, especially since we're talking about the future and digital and transitioning into like going from old school to new school. Let's talk about AGLOW and the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers, which we've been members and a part of for a bazillion years and are obviously big advocates. Tell me exactly what your exact title is with AGLOW now.
It's a great question. Communications.
Director,
I always say,
marketing, media, guy who does it all.
I always just say I'm a communications arm of AGLOW. I can't remember what the actual title was.
Right,
but,
I couldn't remember either. I'm like...
So, yeah, basically, we have the AGLOW website, which we've transitioned and merged it with this outdoor feed. And the outdoor feed is meant to be... You brought up the hunting wire, which you maybe wanted to talk more about goose hunting. I apologize if I transitioned into talking digital.
No,
but
you answered the question. That's why I just had that question.
Okay. Perfect. Well, you got the hunting wire, the fishing wire, the outdoor wire. You got some of these feeds, these outdoor feeds, these services that email you or send you. You get updated outdoor content daily. Well, when we have whatever it is, around 500 members of AGLOW, from content creators, from tourism destinations to outdoor brands, and they're constantly creating content from press releases to product news to podcasts and TV shows and all of that. Why not put those all together, and as they come out, you can send them out like the Outdoor Wire, or something like that. So we came on Trent. I know this was a lot of this came from Trent. Trent Marsh wanted to have a way to showcase our members' content. So I came in and said, what if we do it like this? And we came up with the outdoor feed, and that is something where it's updated every day with content created from our members, and it's all outdoor related content. To me, it's great because it's a place to get updated on things going on around the country in our industry, ranging from hunting and fishing, outdoor recreation, new products, pretty much anything relating to the outdoors. It's all from members of AGLOW. And we've got some very talented people. And so I update that, built that website and update that every day. And of course, that's where you can register for this upcoming conference. We have all the conference information there. And then social media. So I know the socials and the communication to the public world from AGLOW generally flows through me. So in a nutshell, I think I answered your question.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then the conference this year is in Kentucky Lake, which is super fun. And I always tell people when they're like, why should I join AGLOW? And I cannot express enough. It's hard to explain because I don't know that I get, people ask, well, what do you get out of these conferences, or what do you get out of being a member? And it's really hard to put my finger on. It's not like I get these huge contracts where I make, 12% of my income comes from gigs out of AGLOW. That's not it. It's more like I have a roster of people that I can call when I don't have a guest, and I say, hey, I have a question about goose hunting. Hey, Bret, you're a big goose hunter guy. Can you come on the show and answer this question for me? Because I genuinely want to know, and this would be a great episode for my show. I have a roster of people and experts all over the country who this is what they do. They're excellent speakers. They know people. Hey, I might have an idea for this article I want to write for Crappy Magazine. I don't know the editor. Do you know the editor? Why, yes, I do. Or if I don't, I know who does. You know what I mean? There's a lot of networking opportunities. The conference has grown into this really interesting experience, I think. It's changed a lot over the years, not just a bunch of good old boys sitting around and chatting. There's a lot that comes out of it, I think. Don't you agree?
You hit it exactly. When I tell people why they should join, there's sponsor opportunities, there's, story ideas, story opportunities, trips and things like that. But really it all is about relationships. And that's number one in this business. That's how you succeed pretty much in any business, but particularly in the outdoor world, you need to get to know people. You need to spend time with them. You need to have a conversation with them. I think Mark Smith and I have joked numerous times that more work gets done on a bar napkin, than it does through email. Sitting down and getting to know people. It makes such a difference in the world of, and this is business, in the world of business, when you can trust the person you're doing business with. Right. And to gain that trust, you really have to get to know them a little bit. I mean, sure, you can cold call and start up a relationship that way too, but the ability to go to a conference like this AGLOW conference and be in a room with a couple hundred people and get to know them, have dinner with them, maybe go fishing with them, spend time in a boat, and just BS with them and get to know them, and then maybe talk a little shop. Something gets started, an idea is sparked, and then maybe it happens right away, or maybe over the course of the next few months you kind of go back and forth. Now when you propose an idea to somebody like that, maybe a marketing person at a big brand, you were already past the gatekeeper at that point.
Yes.
Like when you try to go to a big name brand, they're getting phone calls every single day or emails every single day from people wanting their money, or wanting to work together or wanting product or whatever the case may be. And sometimes that person doesn't even have time to return those calls or emails. But if they know you, you're at least through the front door. You're at least past that first line of defense of like, all right, well, this guy seemed pretty cool. I hung out with him. He bought me a beer, whatever. I'm going to listen to what he's got to say. And maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But to me, AGLOW is about relationship building with like-minded people in the world of outdoors. And of course we have fun, you know, and I think what I'm really excited about, you know, and I had been asked to join one of the other outdoor writer groups when I ran an outdoor magazine 10, 15 years ago, and somebody was sponsoring me to get into one of the other groups. And I kind of was like, well, I'm not really sure, and I'm kind of busy, and I don't know, you know, I don't know what it's going to do for me, this and that. And that was kind of the end of it, and I kind of let it die out. I was like, I'll join, and then I just never did. And I don't remember, I think Joe Henry then pushed me for a couple of years about joining AGLOW, and then finally he said, hey, we're going to do this cast and blast up at Lake of the Woods, and I really think you should come. Just come hang out with these guys. Learn a little bit about the organization. We're going to go fishing on Lake of the Woods. We're going to go goose hunting up there. And, you know, Mark Smith is going to be there. You can talk to him about it and just see if it fits for you. Well, Mark gave me a membership, and we filmed an episode of Prairie Sportsman, and I kind of got to know some of the people. I'm like, this is great. Like, this is really good. And just out of that, you know, I met some people who were, you know, really good people that I still talk to today. You know, that was how I got to know Riverbend. And Riverbend at Lake, I was just there. I just came back from there like 2 days ago. And I've gotten to know Paul and Brandy Johnson, the owners at Riverbend. And now, you know, that's kind of my go-to spot when I go to Lake of the Woods. When I'm on the Rainy River, that's a place that I go to. And I go there multiple times a year now, and we hang out. And I know the other night, Dan and I and Paul and Brandy were the last ones to leave. We were sitting in the corner of the restaurant laughing until it was like, oh, you guys need to go. I'm like, these are the owners. We're okay. But, you know, so you build relationships and, you know, I've gotten some sponsors, I've gotten some work, and, I've met some really great people and had some great opportunities since I've been a part of it now, you know, and just being a part of a writers group in general. I wish when I had my outdoor magazine back in the day, I wish I had joined an outdoor writers group of some sort just for that opportunity. I might still have that magazine today. You never know, but, I probably wouldn't, but just the way the magazines are going. And honestly, I took that TV job and they made me stop publishing the magazine because they had their own, and that's ultimately why I stopped doing it. But if I would have had that network of outdoor creators, you know, things might have gone completely differently. And, you know, I think the difference with AGLOW, and particularly what we're doing with, you know, being able to showcase all of our work, is we're constantly, with the outdoor feed, we're constantly putting all the content being created by our members in everybody's faces. And you're reinforcing the idea that we're working, it's busy, we're really busy, the organization is strong, look at all this great work our members are doing right now. When you see some of the other organizations out there are going away, they're folding or they're collapsing, they're aging out, whatever the case may be. And AGLOW, to me, is head and shoulders above everybody, and growing, where they're going the opposite direction with some of the other organizations. So if you're doing anything in the outdoor space, it doesn't cost you hardly anything to join AGLOW. An annual membership is really small compared to the potential return you might have if you want to work in the outdoors. I think it's $100 or whatever it is. That's a pretty minor investment for so much possibility and creating a life in the outdoor space through the people you meet in AGLOW.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very true. And it's so inexpensive to join. I mean, the bang for your buck is insane. I'm a member of, you know, T-Bax, the Travel Blogger Exchange. To go to one of their events, it's like $400 just to walk through the door. And yeah, you got, you know, all your food, meal, and everything like that. But you get the same thing with AGLOW for $100. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's so inexpensive for the amount of value that you get from it. So.
And you get to go squirrel hunting.
Oh my gosh. Squirrel hunting this year? Do you really? Oh my God, I haven't even looked yet. Hilarious.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the deals. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully that's on the scale. Hopefully I'm not leaking anything that I'm not supposed to be saying, but.
That's great. I know one night, aren't they hunting for like chupacabra or something one night or something? I forget.
Okay.
I was so excited. Oh my God. He called me and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Now I got to YouTube this shit. What are you saying?
So the squirrel derby is on the schedule. What you're talking about, I don't think is. That might be a secret right now. So that one might be letting the cat out of the bag.
I'm leaving it in. I don't
bleep
care.
It out.
No, I'm leaving it in.
It out, and then everybody will wonder.
What else? Awesome. What else is cool about the conference? What else? We've got the speed. What is it?
There's a fishing tournament now that we started last year at Bemidji.
Yeah, so, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what over. Silent auctions. There's raffles. There's the Kentucky Lake Day of Field. There's the awards and crafts, which is cool because, a lot of people even might be like, well, $100 for the membership and then $100 for the conference and then you got to pay for hotel and stuff like that. Well, if you, write stuff and podcast, you can submit your work and you could potentially win first, second, or third place in and there's a ridiculous amount of categories that you can submit to, and you could potentially make quite a bit of money back. I think one year I made like $400 back, and I was like, this is insanity.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The winning prizes, it's a good chunk of change that you can win. What else? Hospitality rooms at night.
It's kind of amazing that you can win cash. Because so many awards are just plaques or, little glass deals or clear awards. And it's like, okay, cool. That's going to sit on a shelf and collect dust, but you throw me, $100 for winning something. I mean, well, first of all, it's going to pay for some fuel and maybe a night in the hotel, or it's going to buy me some beverages or something like that. Anytime cash, money talks. So the ability to win some cash, I think, is huge.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed, wholeheartedly. So if you're interested in going, go to theoutdoorfeed.org. All the information is there.
Yeah, well, I was also gonna bring up the fact that you can it's not just rubbing elbows with other people in the industry and fishing and chasing squirrels and other things, but there's things you can learn, and there was a guy last year, and I missed it, but there's a guy again this year. It sounds like that's going to be teaching you about taxes, because most of us are freelancers or own our own business, and it's like, gosh, can I write that off? How do I write that off? What can I write off? And there's a guy there that's going to be helping you figure out how to do your taxes when you live in this world. And when the taxes, the tax code's changing, or, certain presidents want to use the IRS to go after people like us, then you want to make sure that you know what you're doing and that you're doing it the right way. So I think, to me, that's some pretty valuable information that you can learn.
That's cool. That is really cool. There are great Learn It sessions. Last year I did two of them on how to start your own. I think one was how to start your own podcast, and one was how to enhance your podcast episodes. And quite a few people attended. I didn't realize there were that many people who were interested in starting their own podcast. Starting your own podcast is so easy. Being
it's amazing
is
how
the
many
hard
people
part.
are doing. Yeah. So many people doing podcasts now. Are you doing another podcast session this year?
God.
Are you doing a podcast session?
No, I am actually not attending this year. No,
what?
I know. No, I have my horse has to have surgery, and he's having a very, very major surgery, and I have to attend to him like every day for 3 weeks, and it's right about that time, and I just can't leave him, and I'm like, that sucks.
I mean, it's hello, it's in Kentucky. They know a thing about horses in Kentucky. a little derby there.
I should just bring them on down and be like, yeah, we're getting the surgery done down here. And
I'm bringing my dogs down there. You bring your horse.
I know. And then we have that big trip in December, and I'm just like, it's just too much. Unfortunately, this year I am going to have to miss it. I only go like every other year. I know. I only have so much vacation. I know.
Yeah,
but then next year's in Eau Claire. And this year, so everybody's coming up for the site visit in Eau Claire, so I'm taking the week off of vacation for that. Are you coming up for that?
I am not. I don't think. I haven't been notified, so I don't think so.
I think they're only up here for like a day and a half, so. But
yeah.
So I'll be up there for that, and then I'm just going to stay up for a couple of days and just, I don't know, tool around and get some cool B-roll and stuff and maybe make some pre-conference, get you excited type of videos, hopefully. I don't know. We'll see.
Sure. Well, I'm excited. I've never been to Kentucky Lake, so I'm kind of excited to go.
I bought a fishing map in March. Yeah. I was so excited. I was at the what used to be the Deer and Turkey Expo at the Kalahari, and I found this. I was like, they have a Kentucky Lake fishing map. I'm like, I'm buying this because I can't wait to go to Kentucky Lake. And then a month ago, I'm like, well, so much for that. I don't know what I'm going to do with this map. So here we are. So anyway, no, I will be living vicariously through you guys and your posts. So it's going to be a good time, though, it looks like. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be down there the whole week, I think. And we're driving down. I haven't decided when we're going to drive down. So it's about a 14-hour drive for us. And we're going to drive. I want to be there Sunday. So we'll probably get up Sunday and get there Sunday night and then be there for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And we'll send you all the pictures of the fish we catch and all the squirrels and then whatever else we come across. In the wilds of Kentucky.
And the craziness, the secret stuff that you guys have going on down there.
Mm-hmm.
That I won't spoil again and have to go back and edit out. All right, Bret. Well, tell the listeners where they can find out more about you and the stuff that you have going on.
Yeah, so the easiest is, I always tell people, is just go to fishhuntforever.com. We've got 4 YouTube channels. We got a radio show and podcast and YouTube vidcast. We also have we got a TV show called Prairie Sportsman, which you can see you can watch it on any PBS website in the country, or you'll be able to watch it on a regular schedule on like 12 or 13 PBS stations in 7 or 8 states. And then we have a Saskatchewan YouTube show called Tasman TV. Sporting Journal Radio's on YouTube. Fish Hunt Forever's on YouTube, and Prairie Sportsman are all on YouTube. So if you go to fishhuntforever.com, you'll get links to everything. And then I blog on there too. So I write some extra stories about some of the things you might not see in the videos or some of the making of things, and try to keep people updated at fishhuntforever.com.
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out. Like I said, this all started because I just had a question about some goose hunting. And it literally went down the rabbit hole 7 different ways. That's all right, though.
Like usual.
I know. So. All right. Well, I will let you get back to your day, and I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye.
All right.